Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today I'm looking at Rivian's recent moves, and trust me, this one has a few twists and turns that might leave you rethinking your dream electric truck. Before we dive in, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where you can discuss these filings. Rivian just released some information related to their annual meeting. Basically, they asked shareholders to vote on some important changes to the company, and we're going to break down what happened and what it means for the future of Rivian. It involves everything from increasing the number of shares they can issue to protecting their officers from certain lawsuits and a new deal to get money from Volkswagen. First, let's talk about the changes to Rivian's rulebook. In their annual meeting in June of 2025, Rivian asked its stockholders to vote on some amendments which are basically changes to their company's official documents. These changes include increasing the number of available shares and making some adjustments to protect company officers. Let's get into what these mean. One of the big changes is that Rivian is increasing the number of Class A common stock shares. They are going from about 3.5 billion. This may sound like just a number on paper, but allows Rivian to raise more money by selling more stock. It could also mean they might be planning some big moves that require a lot of capital, meaning a lot of money. They also added a provision to protect certain officers from being held personally responsible or liable if they make honest mistakes while doing their jobs. This is called exculpation. It's like giving them a safety net. So they don't have to worry about getting sued if they mess up, as long as they were acting in good faith. Finally, there was a clarification about voting rules related to increasing the number of authorized shares of stock. This makes sure that any changes like this follow the proper legal standards under Delaware law, where Rivian is incorporated. It is basically a safeguard to ensure things are done by the book. Now let's look at what actually happened at the annual meeting. The stockholders got to vote on several key items that will shape the direction of Rivian. First up was electing the board of directors. Stockholders voted on 3 members to serve until the 2028 meeting. Robert Skering, Peter Kromiak, and Sanford Schwartz were all elected. These are the people steering the ship, so their election is pretty important for setting company strategy. Next, they ratified or approved the appointment of KPMG LLP as their independent accounting firm for the year ending December 31, 2025. It is basically getting a thumbs up on their financial record keeping. Stockholders also had a chance to give their opinion on the compensation of the company's top executives. This vote is advisory, meaning that while the company listens, they are not required to do what stockholders say. One of the more interesting items was about approving the future sale or issuance of Class A common stock to Volkswagen International. America Inc. stockholders approved this, meaning Rivian can now move forward with this deal. The next item was about increasing the number of authorized shares of Class A common stock. Again, this was approved, giving Rivian the green light to issue more shares if needed. Another item on the agenda was to approve an amendment that would protect officers from certain breaches of duty. This also got the thumbs up from stockholders. Finally, stockholders voted on clarifying the voting requirements for amending the number of authorized shares. This was also approved, ensuring the rules are clear for future changes. Just as a safety measure, they asked to approve an adjournment if they needed more time to encourage people to vote. Now, let us dive into the numbers behind the votes, because this is where things get interesting. For the election of Robert J. Skeren as a director, he received 614,314,704, and they can only vote on certain items. For Peter Kromiak, there were 658 vote and 32 broker non-votes. Broker non-votes happen when brokers holding shares for clients don't receive instructions on how to vote, and they can only vote on certain items. For Peter Kromiak, there were 650 affidavit 8 and 301 force MB3 votes, Sefender 54 and 308 votes in favor, and 4,731 14-2 withheld, and again 251,783,042 broker non-votes. Broker Tuvate 8, there were 655 held, and again 251,000 happen when brokers holding shares for clients don't receive instructions on how to vote, and they can only vote on certain items. For Peter Kromiak, there were 600 Schwartz, it was 655 then 3. When it came to ratifying KPMG as the company's accounting firm, the votes were overwhelmingly in favor. there were 953, went for only 6,733 votes for, only 6,737,480 against, and 4,773,745 votes for, 58,020 of it 82 on 6,692 against, and 1,082,405 abstained. No broker non-votes here, meaning pretty much everyone who voted 8,602 against, and 435 votes for, 58,245 votes for, 58,234 seed. No false 35 votes for, 58,245,673 against, and 1,082,043, 9,783,000 of 4,673, 5 abstained. No broker non-votes here, meaning pretty much everyone who voted 50 vote 600. The approval of issuing shares to Volkswagen saw 798,459 votes for, 6,879 votes for, 6,810 in 83, 1,429 abstained, with the 6,229 abstained. With the massive 205 divided and 42 broken non-votes is important. 1 false and 793. 1,042 broken non-votes is important. For increasing the number of Class A common stock shares, there were 941,97,771 votes for, 52,631 votes there against, and 4,098. 34 votes, 52,631 votes for, 26,993,806,301 votes for, 26,993,1860 against, and 1,000 for, 26,993,860,301 votes for, 26,993,860 against, and 1,124,615 abstained, with the usual 251,783,042 broker non-votes. Some concern as a good amount of against votes here, 115 abstained, with the usual 2050 broker non-votes. Some concern as a good amount of against votes here. Clarifying the voting requirements for amending the number of authorized shares got 705,082,835 for, 3,135,437 against, and 883,043 against, and 83,046 abstained, with the usual 251,705,664 against, and 4,605 again, and 4,060 approval to adjourn the meeting if necessary received 898 votes for, 63,530 win to, or for 63,533,042 broker non-votes, an easy win class to 77,088 votes for, 63,550 95 fine 666 abstained. No broker non-votes, so the item passed without much resistance. After the annual meeting, the organization updated their corporate bylaws to represent the results of the vote. This essentially confirms the changes we just walked through by formally updating and filing their official documents. So what's the big picture here? Rivian is setting itself up for more financial flexibility and protecting its leadership. The increase in authorized shares and the Volkswagen deal could mean they're gearing up for some major investments or expansions. However, the dissenting votes on executive compensation and officer protection suggest that not everyone is completely on board with the company's direction. One of the things that might be concerning is the fact that the company had to ask to increase the number of available shares. Why do they need so many more shares and a deal with VW? The problem is that Rivian is burning cash. It costs a lot of money to design, manufacture and sell electric vehicles. At Rivian may be preparing for long-term market competition with big automobile companies like Tesla, GM and Ford. The market for electric cars is only getting more competitive, and based on the analysis of this report, it shows how shareholders feel about Rivian's moves through their votes. Alright, that's our breakdown of Rivian's latest moves. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Does the VW partnership make sense? Will they pull through? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Also, don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.